Here we go with week 14. Got a lot of decisions to make at running back. Look, good news is we got the return last week of a guy like Bucky Irving, came back with a vengeance. We're still waiting. Are guys like Omarion Hampton, Trey Benson going to come back finally and make an impact down the stretch? What do you think, Chris? Is this the week?
I mean, maybe, but I really just want Saquon Barkley to come back.
Barkley? What do you mean? He's out there. He's been playing.
He has?
Well, technically, yes. But look, is he going to help you this week? Who is going to help you win in week 14? That's why we go through every matchup and break down all the running backs you need to know about, who to start and who to sit. And we're back to buys, the final week of buys. We got 4 teams that are going to be off, and that includes some heavy hitters like 49ers, the Patriots, the Panthers, and the Giants. So this week, the must-start list, you start these guys, no questions asked. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, James Cook, and Josh Jacobs. And real quick, before we get to the nitty-gritty here, easy decision that you can make is to click that subscribe button. That's right, just give it a click. It's very easy and it helps us out tremendously. We're on our way to 100K. We're trying to reach our goal before the year's over. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, go ahead and do it now. So this week we'll start kind of like last week. On Thursday, we're going to see the Lions. We're going to see the Cowboys, this time against each other, and it's the only game on Thursday. I mean, this is a huge one in terms of playoff implications, right? This should be a very good game for fantasy. You know Jahmyr Gibbs is in your lineup. Now let's talk about the Cowboys side, Javonte Williams. Is he still pretty much kind of a set and forget RB2?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with the kind of volume he gets, his pass catching, the fact that he's in this offense, it's a tough matchup, of course, against the Lions, but you can't really sit a guy like Javonte. I still have to keep him as a solid start this week.
I mean, nothing much has changed here. He's still the bell cow. This is still an offense that is just continuing to roll. Cowboys are getting better as the year goes on, and this game should have a lot of points in it. I mean, there's really no issue with Javonte. He's as solid as ever. I don't know if we can say the same thing for Monty. We've been worried about Monty for weeks now. He did a little something in terms of, well, actually giving you some fantasy points just because he found the end zone on Thanksgiving. Is that enough to make you want to start him this week?
Not really. I mean, he only had 8 carries, 2 catches in that game. Yeah, he scored, but it feels like he has to score just so you say, like, okay, I don't regret starting him. And like the Cowboys' run defense, I'm not going to say it's elite, but it's certainly gotten better. Like, you can flex him if you're desperate this week, but very risky here.
Yeah, like I almost just want to say sit, don't bother. There's not enough here. I mean, sure, he did score. There's a lot of random running backs that could score. I mean, only honestly because it's the Cowboys, and again, this should be a high-scoring game. He does have that potential, but one thing, as if we weren't already worried enough about Monty throughout the season not having big games, ever since Dan Campbell took over play calling, it's gotten worse. Over the last 3 games, Monty's had 8 carries last week, 5 carries, and 6 carries. He's almost not even a part of this offense anymore. So going forward, I wouldn't trust him. If you do need him this week, you could flex him though. All right, now onto the Sunday slate. Let's start with Titans at Browns. Start with an easy one on the Tennessee side. Any reason to start any running back wearing a Titans uniform?
In this offense against this defense, I mean, there's like desperation and then there's whatever this is. No thanks.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of desperation flex options we'll talk about. They're not on this team. No way. Now on the other side, you got Quinshon Judkins. Finally had a better performance this past week. He had been trending down too, you had to worry, but he had his best rushing output in terms of yardage since week 5. And I think it's worth noting that, again, we don't know his status, but Dylan Sampson left with a calf injury, so he might not even really be in the picture either. So how good do we have to feel about Judkins against the Titans?
Well, I don't feel as good about him this week as I did last week. I loved him last week against that 49ers matchup. Glad he came through because I know I said yes to Judkins a ton on the streams. But look, the Titans have actually been sneaky good against the run. I know a couple times here we've put like running backs to boom against the Titans. Hello, Travis Etienne. I'm talking about you. And it hasn't happened. Look, they've been the 5th fewest fantasy points per game and just 3.6 yards per carry allowed over the last 3 weeks. That being said, he gets the volume. He could score in this offense. I doubt there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game. But again, kind of like Javonte. I mean, I don't feel as good about him as Javonte, but he's one of these guys that he has touchdown upside and he gets so many touches, you can't really bench him. I'm going to say solid.
Right, and as we say a lot, mostly a floor play, a high floor, but would not pick him to boom this week. The Etienne thing, I didn't want to bring it up, but you're right. The thing is with the Titans, they're not a good defensive team, but they're such a bad offensive team. Like you think, okay, well, positive game script, right? You should be able to run the ball, and yes, you should. But like we saw with the Jags last week, it's such a slow-paced game. You also don't need to score that much, right? There's just not enough here. And it's not like the Cleveland Browns are a dynamic offense. This is probably going to be one of the lowest scoring games, if not the lowest scoring of the week. So Judkins is solid, but don't feel like he's going to have a big game. Before we move on, don't forget while you're setting your fantasy lineups to get your underdog picks in. I know Feast Week is over, but there are still so many promos, profit boosts. Check your lobby. And I mean, if you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, it's not too late. We still got several weeks in the NFL season. And also, they have picks for NBA, right? NHL, every sport out there. If you sign up for the first time on Underdog, by the way, use code ENDGAME because that gets you a deposit match all the way up to $1,000 worth of bonus funds in your account. And then as soon as you play $5 towards any pick, you get another $100 in bonus funds added to your account. And this week, if you do it right now, you get a free pick. It's Jahmyr Gibbs just getting 1 yard in that Thursday night game. You get the free pick, the bonus funds. Try it out, sign up for Underdog, and use code ENDGAME when you check out. All right, next up, let's talk about the Seahawks at the Falcons. Bijan Robinson proved again, you don't ever question him, you start him. There are still questions about the Seahawks backfield. In fact, I don't even know if there are questions, right? We just know at this point it is what it is. It's a frustrating timeshare. Like Walker's going to get more carries and yards, but Charbonnet is going to steal the goal line touches and the touchdowns, unless you think that's going to change this week.
No, why would this change? These guys are just both flexes here, but flexes for different reasons. Like Kenneth Walker, yeah, you know you're going to get a floor with him because of the yards and the receptions, but you're not going to get a ceiling because no touchdowns. Charbonnet is the opposite. He almost feels like Montgomery to me. Like he needs to score to give you the floor, but he keeps scoring, so you keep getting that floor. But I will say the Falcons the last 3 weeks, they've only allowing 3.1 yards per carry and just 1 touchdown to running backs. Their run defense has gotten better. Like the Falcons are one of these teams you just don't know on a week-to-week basis here. These guys are just flexes.
Again, kind of like Monty, like you said, I want to just ignore them and not, but there are other options. Again, there are 4 teams on bye. You might need somebody like that. You could flex them both. The Falcons at home, you feel like this might be one of those games they just randomly decide to show up and play defense. Who knows? So barely flexes both of them. And like there's some weeks where Tyler Algier, same thing. He could always score, get you a few touches. There's some weeks where he could be flexed, again, with teams on bye. This doesn't feel like one of those weeks.
Nah, Seattle, tough against running backs. They've only allowed 1 touchdown over the last 3 games to running backs. This feels too risky.
You need the volume, but also you need a decent matchup, so let's move on.
Do you want to get advice from Pierre and myself at the tip of your fingertips? Start, sit, waiver wire, trades, and more? Well, you can do all of this and more on our new app, Draft Lane. We have the ability to view your roster, waivers, and more to give you the right feedback to make the perfect choice. Download Draft Lane from the App Store or Google Play, or use these handy QR codes. And first-time users can use code ENDGAME to get 10 free credits and get your questions answered today.
All right, Colts and Jaguars. This is an important game for these two teams. So let's see what happens. You got JT, you're good. You got Travis Etienne. Well, now you don't know what you have because, again, last week's smash spot did not smash, and we saw Bashal Tootin, the rookie, get a touchdown. But this still feels like it's Etienne's backfield mostly, doesn't it?
Well, it feels that way, but then when I was diving into it, I'm like, is it still his backfield? He only played 47% of the snaps last week, but what's even more concerning to me is he ran the same amount of routes as LaQuint Allen, who's the other rookie running back here. Colts also have been tough against running backs. I'm going to just keep them in the solid tier, but very low-end solid, like risky solid. And honestly, this feels a little generous this week.
Yeah, it does. And again, this is not just retribution for letting us down last week. I'm going to throw him in the flex range. Again, more of a high-end flex compared to some other guys we've talked about. But yeah, I think last week they're like, yeah, we don't really need you. I mean, look, they're going to try to establish the run, but they've got other backs here. They've got a lot more options in the passing game now, and I think Liam Cohen's going to use that to his advantage. And look, they might need to against the Colts. Very high-powered offense here. And look, over the past 8 weeks, the Colts have allowed the 5th fewest yards per carry. I mean, that run defense is pretty legit. So I don't feel an Etienne a big game here. I think he's just a flex. And then as far as Tootin goes, I mean, he's still pretty touchdown dependent. I think he's more just a desperation flex. All right, now let's talk Commanders at Vikings. So coming off a very thrilling late overtime loss, the Commanders at least showed something on offense. And what if they get Jaden Daniels back? Does that make you feel better about the running game? And, well, I guess it's just Chris Rodriguez Jr. At this point. Is Bill even a thing?
Nah, Bill's not even ahead of Jeremy McNichols right now. I mean, obviously, if they do get JD back, that's got to make you feel better about the entire offense, including the running game. We can't feel great here, though. We did see quite a bit of McNichols last week, but I do wonder if that was game script, coming from behind here. Rodriguez always has touchdown upside, but I don't feel great about him in this matchup. I'm just going to say a flex.
It's a better matchup. And look, the thing is here, the Commanders, like you said last week, playing from behind against a tough defense. They should be playing from ahead because at this point, McCarthy, Brosmer, doesn't matter who the quarterback is. This Vikings offense is broken. So the Commanders, especially with JD back, might be running ahead in this game. That said, I mean, how many touches do we really think Rodriguez is going to get? He's got touchdown upside. I think he's more of a strong flex than anything. And on the Vikings side, I mean, talk about broken now. What about Aaron Jones and that shoulder? Not saying it's broken, but he had an AC joint sprain early in the year, and now that same shoulder is giving him trouble. Who knows if he'll play? And if he doesn't, how big of a boost could that be to Jordan Mason?
Well, I don't know if you could say it's a big boost for anybody in this offense, but I will say, according to Adam Schefter today, the Vikings said they don't believe that running back Aaron Jones' shoulder injury is serious, and he's considered day-to-day. Also, and I think this is kind of important, J.J. McCarthy poised to return. Weird. He already cleared, they're already clearing concussion protocol, apparently. Wow, what a shocker. Never thought that would happen after what we saw on Sunday. I'm just going to say both these guys flexes. I mean, Jordan Mason, these guys to me kind of feel like Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, but like the discount version of those guys. It is a great matchup. Commanders allowing the 4th most points to running backs over the last 3 games, and they've given up 3 touchdowns. But how good can we feel here? Jones gives you a floor because he catches passes, and as long as the offense doesn't have Max Brosmer, he at least can get some yards. Jordan Mason could score, but that's probably about it.
Yeah, I don't feel good about anything in this offense, even against that Commanders defense. So, look, if Jones is active and he's good to go, I think he's just a flex. Mason would be barely a flex option, but if Jones does miss, if he's out, I would bump him up a little bit because he's going to get all the volume here. And, they're going to have to try to run the ball as much as humanly possible to keep it out of the hands of whatever quarterback they have. So I could go solid with Mason, but only if Jones is completely out. The Bengals at the Bills should be one of the games of the week. So James Cook just continues to dominate. You start him, no questions asked. Do we have questions about Chase Brown now in the Bengals backfield? Because as soon as Samaje Perine returned from injury, he's cutting into his work. Why?
I don't know. The Bengals like Samaje Perine. I mean, they just always have liked Samaje Perine for some reason. Yeah, really, these guys are pretty close in terms of carries, but the one area Chase Brown did still dominate was the pass catching, so that was nice to see. And I will say this, on paper, Bills, yeah, it looks like a smash matchup, but their run defense looked pretty good last week against the Steelers. I know it was the Steelers, but look, Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell had been pretty good for weeks leading up to that, so there's a part of me that wonders, maybe this run defense is figuring something out here. But still, Chase Brown's been good. Joe Burrow just elevates the entire offense here. I think he's got to be very solid this week.
Yeah, I agree. Chase Brown should be solid against this Bills run defense. I won't take too much away from last week because, do you really have to try that hard to defend the pass against the Steelers these days? No. So I think, teams kind of can figure out how to stop Pittsburgh. Now I got Joe Burrow back in the fold. Yeah, I think Chase Brown's going to have a lot more open lanes. This could be a great game for him, but let's not get carried away. He's going to be solid. And then I do think Perine could be flexed because he'll catch some passes. He does have touchdown upside. So this is one of those games where you might see these bit players, these role players, produce, and Perine is one of those guys. Saints taking on the Bucs this week. As we said, Bucky is back. Alvin Kamara Probably not. I mean, that MCL might keep him out another week, and if so, Devin Neal, I mean, it's basically his backfield. Look, I wasn't crazy about him last week, and he really didn't do much last week. Does he do more this week?
I think so. I like Devin Neal this week. What I really liked, what I saw about Devin Neal was he ran almost 70% of the routes. That was his thing, right? That was I know that was one thing I liked about him coming out of college. Now he's playing this Bucs defense. Yes, they are tough against the run, but over the last 3 games, they have allowed the most receiving yards and receiving touchdowns to running backs, plus a ridiculous 15 yards per target to running backs. I think he can do enough in the receiving game here to at least give him a very high floor. I'm going to say solid, but like lower end of the solid, more of a floor play.
Yeah, everything you said. I mean, it would be ironic if he just becomes the Alvin Kamara that we haven't seen from Alvin Kamara this year as a pass catcher in this offense. They need that, and Neal has been doing it. This Bucs run defense has not been as good as it has in past years. They're just kind of middle of the pack here, but Devin Neal is just not a great runner. And let's face it, I think there's some limitations here in terms of his scoring potential, so I can't go more than a high-end flex, but as I broke down on the waiver wire video, this week I do feel better about Neal, at least good enough to, say, well, go ahead and pick him up if you need somebody. After what we saw last week, got to feel really good about Bucky Irving. I mean, he looked like himself, right? Looked explosive, got in the end zone. Actually, got in the end zone twice. One of them, I think, was called back on a penalty, but I mean, against the Saints offense, it's like, how do you not start Bucky?
Yeah, that was a weird sequence. It was like first Rachaad White scored, and then that was called back by a penalty. Then Bucky scored, and that was called back by a penalty. And then Tristan Wirfs ended up with the actual touchdown. Like, if you thought NFL wasn't crazy enough, there you go. That's craziness for you. But man, Bucky looked good. So much for being limited. 19 touches last week, and he only played 58% of the snaps. I mean, you got to think they're going to ramp him up even more this week. Against the Saints, he's got to be a strong start.
Should be strong, and consequently, just in case anybody asks, I think we pretty much said last week you can move on from Sean Tucker and Rachaad White. I think it's official. You can sit them and you could probably drop them. All right, Steelers at Ravens, another tough divisional matchup, another important game here. So, do the running games take the center stage here? Well, for the Steelers, it took a backseat last week. Do they do any better? And like at this point, do we even feel better about one or the other in terms of Jaylen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell?
Well, Warren kind of reasserted himself as a guy last week, even ran more routes and had more receptions. So, yeah, I feel like we kind of got bamboozled by Kenneth Gainwell here after like the usage we had seen prior. I'm just going to say Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, the Ravens aren't even a good matchup. They've been 7th toughest versus running backs over the last 3 games, and they have not allowed a touchdown to running backs over that stretch. The defense has not been the problem. The defense was a problem earlier in the year. Now it's the offense that's the problem. I'm going to say Kenneth Gainwell, just a risky flex, and Jaylen Warren, more like a strong flex because I do think he is the preferred guy here.
Yeah, he should be. Again, I always was very hesitant to buy in on Kenneth Gainwell. It always felt like a trap. But then we saw like 2-3 weeks in a row he was very heavily involved. This is just an Art Smith offense. So who knows on a given week. But Warren is the guy you should feel better about. I see he's like a high-end flex, and Gainwell is more just a low-end desperation flex. And then there's Derrick Henry. I mean, the king. You don't really have any questions. He's not the problem, at least in this offense. Do the Ravens have enough going on here offensively with the way Lamar's looked, to be honest, not very good, that make Henry kind of an automatic start? Or are there questions here?
Well, you got to be a little worried about the fact that for some reason against the worst run defense in the NFL, they only gave him 11 touches last week. I mean, like, what's going on here? But I got to think that's going to get fixed. The Steelers just gave up almost 250 rushing yards to the Bills. Like Ray Davis and Ty Johnson looked like Derrick Henry last week. I am not sitting Derrick Henry this week. Strong start.
Yeah, they're at home. Again, this is a must-win for them to keep going. And if Lamar's not doing Lamar things, it should be King Henry. I don't feel like this is going to be a huge game for him. I mean, he always could rip off a long run, but I'll just go high-end solid. But for the most part, yeah, I don't sit the King. Now the Dolphins are taking on the Jets this week. This one should be pretty straightforward. If you have Devon Achane, you start him. If you got Breece Hall, probably.
Yeah, he's another one of these guys where he's going to get the volume, like Quinshon Judkins, whoever else we've talked about, where it's like, they're going to get the volume. You don't love the offense, And honestly, I don't even love the matchup this week. I know there's still people out there that think the Dolphins are like a smell. Like, you got to start Devin Neal. He's getting all the touches against the Dolphins. No, the Dolphins have actually been good. They were allowing the 4th fewest fantasy points to running backs over the last 3 games. I don't know why, but this run defense has gotten significantly better. But I can't drop a guy like Breece Hall out of the solid tier. But again, going to be lower end solid for me.
Well, I'll just go solid because, again, this may not be his best game, but I feel like every week now, Breece is either giving you a significant amount of yardage, whether it's, as a rusher or whether it's through the air. Sometimes he'll take those passes and run with them, or he's scoring. He seems to have a pretty high floor and always potential for more. So, yeah, if I have Breece Hall for the most part, I am starting him. All right, Broncos at the Raiders, 2 exciting young rookies squaring off here. And so RJ Harvey, in his first real chance as the bell cow in a smash spot. Well, he didn't quite smash, but he did find the end zone. He kind of just kept doing what he'd been doing earlier in the season, right? Score a couple touchdowns, don't do a lot yardage-wise. I mean, do you think that against this Raiders defense would just give up a pretty big game to Kamani Vidal? Does he do anything better?
Well, the really weird thing to me here is he only played 46% of the snaps. Why did he only run 22% of the routes? He was running more routes with J.K. Dobbins healthy than he did as the lead back. Like Tyler Beatty, however you pronounce it, getting a bunch of routes and stuff. What is going on here? But he did get all the inside the 5 work, and it is the Raiders, so that's good. He's definitely got touchdown upside. He's the guy here. I'm going to say high-end solid.
He's got to be solid. It's the Raiders, right? Of course, there's no worries here. He should get plenty of run. It's kind of weird. This is not exactly what I expected from Harvey. He's averaging only 3.7 yards per carry, but yet he has 8 touchdowns. It's kind of reversed, right? I thought that would be more like a J.K. Dobbins line, but whatever. Look, Harvey at this point, he's getting enough touches. It's a great matchup. Start him. Now, it may not be that simple for Ashton Genty. I mean, we know he's getting the volume, of course. We really didn't see that much difference in last week's version of the Raiders offense without Chip Kelly. It's pretty much the same thing here. But man, this matchup is definitely going to be tough.
Yeah, the matchup is tough, but as I've been saying with guys, like this, and in fact, I would have Genty, a tier above like the Breece Halls, the Quinshon Judkins. When you got a running back who's going to carry the ball 15 plus times, going to catch 5 plus passes, and going to get all the goal line work, even in tough matchups, you can't really bench that guy. And it's not like Genty is bad. Like, we're not talking about, some 4th-string running back who's being forced to start here. Even in the bad matchup, he's got to be solid.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ignore the matchup. It's definitely going to be tough for him to have a big game, but exactly, he's been used so much as a receiver. It's crazy. 3 straight games, at least 6 catches. It's because they don't really have much at wide receiver, but that's not changing. So mostly through the floor, he's a solid pick. All right, Rams at Cardinals. I know we've been going back and forth this Arizona backfield. Who's going to play with it? This Rams backfield now, more in some discussion. I know you broke this down, of course, in the Panic videos. What is the deal for those who either don't remember or didn't watch with Kyren Williams? Should we be worried here? What do we expect this week?
I think you got to be a little worried. Got a lot of comments on the video like, well, Kyren went out with an ankle injury and that's why Corum scored. Okay, that's fair. But look at from weeks 10 through 12 when they were both healthy. Kyron's only only had 53% of the attempts, and Corum has gotten 66% of the inside the 5 carries. Yeah, maybe Kyren being out helped Corum score last week, but he still could have scored even with Kyren in there. This is getting more of a split than we'd like to see. But that being said, it's also the Arizona Cardinals who have allowed 3 rushing touchdowns over the last 3 games. There's certainly a chance for Kyren to score here again. I'm going to say solid, but I view Kyren just more of like a high-end RB2. And then kind of like what we talked about with some other guys here, there is a chance that Corum could score here. He's getting the opportunities, and it's the Cardinals, so like a risky flex.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Sean McVay said that Kyren Williams, it's a non-issue, right? He'll be fine, so don't worry about injury. And he is still the 1A. I mean, he is what he's usually solid, right? He's got always touchdown upside, went back to scoring again. Like, if you look at the numbers, he was fine, right? He was fine for fantasy. Blake Corum scoring is aggravating, but that could happen. It happens to other running backs. So Kyren is still solid here. And Corum, again, kind of Charbonnet-esque. Get you a touchdown. He could help you. If he doesn't, he won't. And then let's just go ahead and ask it again. Is Trey Benson coming back this week? Is he coming back this year at all? And if so, what goes on in this backfield?
Well, at this point, I'm at the point where, like, okay, maybe if Trey Benson comes back and is, like, fully good, not even on the injury report, fine. But I just have my doubts now. Like, how healthy is he even? I'm probably not even going to risk it with Trey Benson at this point. It honestly would not surprise me if they just say, hey, he's not going to be ready this year. I think they have to activate him this week, so we will find out. Then if he's out, I'll say Bam Knight as strong flex this week. This is a tough matchup against this Rams defense, but we saw like an annoying amount of Michael Carter last week, but he's been scoring. He's been pretty good here, so a strong flex.
Yeah, I'll just assume Benson isn't playing, and if he does, I don't want to play him. And if it's just the way it has been, look, I got to be higher on Bam Knight here. He's scored in 3 straight games. He's got at least 3 receptions in those 3 straight games. This offense is still, pretty consistent under Jacoby Brissett. So, yeah, I mean, Bam has enough here. I think he's a solid kind of low-end RB2. All right, another huge game here. It's going to be the Packers taking on the Bears. This is going to be in Green Bay. So Josh Jacobs, he's good to go. You start him. And you almost just want to say, hey, let's just start every Bear running back. I mean, how did they do that against the Eagles defense?
I have no idea, but yeah, I know at this point it's gonna be like, wow, how do I bench these guys? And look, the Packers over the last 3 games, they're allowing the 11th most points to running backs. So I'm gonna say both these guys are solid this week. I'm gonna say lower end solid because it's I don't expect them to both go off again this week. But man, how do you bench these guys?
I know, I probably won't. It means that clearly they won't do that again. I don't think. This is going to be a tougher spot for them, sure. So let's just keep them both as solid options. And the thing is, with Monangai, we keep saying this week after week, he's finding the end zone. They're going to him when they get near the end zone. They have trust in this run game. That's what they want to do. So, yeah, I think they're both solid. On Sunday night, we're going to see the Texans taking on the Chiefs. All right, so these are not the most exciting rushing offenses out there. Let's start with Houston. Got Woody Marks and then Nick Chubb, who did find the end zone again last week.
Yeah, but Nick Chubb did score only because Woody Marks was out with a foot injury. I mean, look, maybe Nick Chubb would have scored anyways, but he was getting a lot of run only with Woody Marks out. But even with Woody Marks leaving that game with the foot injury, still very clearly dominated this backfield in snaps, in touches, in everything. But unlike the previous 2 weeks where he had 2 good matchups, this is now a very tough matchup against the Chiefs, so I'm just going to say Woody Marks a strong flex. Nick Chubb, too risky.
Yeah, this situation feels pretty static. Nothing much has changed here in this backfield. So, again, Woody Marks is a flex option, but not an exciting one. I mean, there's no reason to be interested in Nick Chubb here. At Kansas City, probably not a good time to start a Texans running back if you don't have to. Now, what about starting a Kansas City running back? I mean, Isaiah Pacheco technically is back, although you wouldn't know it. And then there's Kareem Hunt still leading the way.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt, I mean, despite Pacheco being back last week, still had 66% of the rush attempts, 45% of the routes, plus getting all the goal line work. Didn't come through against the Cowboys. This is a very tough matchup against the Texans, but he's in the Chiefs offense. He could always score. Again, I'm going to say a strong flex, and I'm not starting Pacheco.
Yeah, I don't think I'll find myself wanting to start Pacheco at all this season. Again, Kareem Hunt always could score, so for that reason, even in a tough matchup, he's still flex worthy. And Monday night, we got the Eagles taking on the Chargers. And look, we seriously have to ask, do we want Saquon Barkley in our fantasy lineups at this point? He has become basically a liability. I mean, is anything going to change here?
Now you're not lying to me, right? Saquon Barkley has been playing and he's healthy?
That's as far as I know.
Wow. Okay. Well, okay then. Look, this is not a good matchup for Saquon Barkley. Chargers allowing 3.9 yards per carry and just 4.2 yards per target over the last 3 games. The running game looks broken. He looks broken. Like, I can't outright sit Saquon Barkley, but I'm only going to say a strong flex.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the Justin Jefferson situation. Like, it feels like he's done nothing because you expect him to be your best player. And look, he's done a little something, but yeah, something has to be wrong here. I think there's got to be some physical issue. I know he's complained he's had a growing issue and he's had some soreness. I feel like there's got to be something else going on here. But I doubt it's going to get fixed this week. So, I mean, he's really just a high-end flex. And then for the Chargers, here it is again. Could Omari Hampton be activated, or is it going to take another week? You almost wish, if you did either hold or pick up Kamani Vidal, that Hampton doesn't come back. But, I mean, let's assume he does. Now what?
Well, if he comes back, I'm going to say he's lower end solid, because there is always risk. Like, is he going to come back and just take over the backfield, or are they going to ease him back in here? But this is actually becoming like what maybe is a good matchup. Over the last 4 games, the Eagles allowing 4.9 yards per carry, 8.9 yards per target. We saw what the Bears just did to them. So I think if he plays, lower end solid. And if he plays, I don't think you can start Vidal. Although I'll say if he misses again, Vidal goes back in as a solid start. Although I will also say Vidal has followed up every single big game this year with an absolute dud.
This is true. Well, the other wrinkle to this is what's going on with Justin Herbert. That fractured left hand could keep him out. I mean, even if he plays, is he going to be good to go? I can't feel great about this Chargers offense. I know Philly defense got shredded by the Bears on the ground, but they're not that bad. I mean, come on. I feel like this was more of an outlier game. So I would say, look, if there's no Hampton, yes, Vidal slides into the solid tier again because of the volume, and they probably will need him. If Hampton plays, I'm just going to keep him as a flex. There you have it. That's all that you need to know about running backs for Week 14. But you know we're not done there. We're going to have you covered at every position, plus everything you need to know to win heading into the playoffs. It's going to be in this playlist.